Payton the rebound to Curry, and that's going to be it. The Magic won't foul, and Golden State ends the homestand with a win.
Well, that is Tim Roy describing the final call of what was a little bit of a rock fight tonight between the Warriors and the Orlando Magic, but they get a necessary win in what is kind of wrapped up as, I don't know if it's an ugly, but it's definitely sort of, I don't know, unspectacular, a little bit anticlimactic, but at the end of the day, successful homestand with the Warriors wrapping up. They get 8 games of the last night at Chase Center. They end it tonight with a win against the Magic, 5-3 over those 8, and they put themselves in a position to where if they win on Wednesday against a hapless Jazz group, they would actually win 4 of their last 5 games, 5 of their last 7, heading into the trade deadline at kind of an interesting point in the season. But nonetheless, final score 104-99. Warriors win tonight against Orlando here at Chase Center. This is Warriors wrap-up on 95.7 The Game. Evan Giddings with you live from Chase Center down beneath one of these interesting bunkers. I know someone was telling me the other day, they're like, it looks like you're in some sort of cage. Like, do they got you in a hole? Well, kind of. It's actually going to be a place where a lot of NBA All-Star media are going to be in approximately 2 weeks. In fact, I ran into a bunch of them today as they were occupying this bunker pregame. But, of course, that is a little bit from now. A lot of questions the Warriors will be asked during the All-Star game, which is in 2 Sundays from now at Chase Center, about what the hell's going on with the Warriors, right? Where are they at? And after tonight, again, they stand 1 game above 500. They get an ugly but necessary victory against a Magic team that has been reeling as of late. They had lost 7 of their last 10 games. Without Jalen Suggs, they had been 3 for their last 14. That is not the Magic team that we were promised at the beginning of this season. Not the Magic team that even we saw, I would say, sort of 20 or 30 games into this season. They've been dealing with the long-term injury of Paolo Banchero, who recently came back, has not looked the same. Franz Wagner, a player that they gave large money to this offseason, has been impressive, but has still dealt with injury. Tonight was good in the fourth quarter. Outside of it, I thought he was nothing to write home about. And really, offensive in this game was nothing to write home about. The Warriors and the Magic scored 3 points combined in the first 4 minutes of this basketball game. I mean, I felt bad for the Rims. They were bruised by the first 5 minutes of this game, and it felt like for the first 8, I mean, I had someone text me that they were a little bit behind in the first quarter during live time. It was getting towards the end of the first quarter. I just told them to take a nap. Just take an 8-minute nap. You're not going to miss anything. Teams weren't making shots. And then I thought it started to pick up in the second quarter, even though the offense wasn't there. It was 43-43 at the end of the first half. And for an over-under, that was like the live line was at 170 or something at halftime. It was a pretty tough night for offense. But I thought that the physicality picked up for both teams as well. And the Warriors got Draymond Green back tonight. I thought he made life difficult for someone like Paolo Banchero. The Warriors and Andrew Wiggins got to the free throw line 15 times in that third quarter. I thought Wiggins set the tone with his physical play, especially on the offensive end. Moses Moody continues to play very strong for the Warriors off the bench, sometimes in the starting lineup. Seems like he's really found a footing, which as many people might wonder about moving forward with Kuminga and his return imminent in a couple of weeks beyond the All-Star break, what Moses Moody's role is going to be. Quentin Post, I think, is sort of a rookie roller coaster type of player, was ineffective in the first half, had a really nice stint in the third quarter, which allowed the Warriors to separate, to put themselves in position to have a 15-point lead going into the fourth quarter, with which they then relinquished with relative quickness. Ended up being, again, a close game down the stretch of this. I think Curry has been getting to show his age a little bit towards maybe the dog days of the season, and someone that is looking forward to somewhat of a break during All-Star break, or as much as he gets as someone who's going to be making, again, his 11th NBA All-Star appearance, I think his 10th start, something like that. But overall, I'm curious what people think about this game, what they think about the homestand, and also where it stands with the Warriors heading into the trade deadline. 888-957-9570 is the number. Evan Giddings with you on Warriors wrap-up here on 95.7 The Game. Enjoying as people begin to file in on YouTube and Twitch, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. People getting set with their calls, people on the text line. Hello to everyone out there as we kind of break down, I think, not only the Warriors' defeat of the Magic 104-99, but some of the bigger picture conversations, I think, that stem from really all the rumors that the Warriors have been involved in today. So we can get into all of it. But to me, as we start with the game, there's a couple of things that stand out to me. Number one, I think that the starting lineup has, and really the Warriors in general, like to me, this is why the homestand was productive for the Warriors. Again, it was not a spectacular one by any means, but at a point in the season where, I guess it was 3 or 4 games ago, they had gone 10-20 in their previous 30 games following that 12-3 start to the season. A lot of people, I think, believed, and fairly so, that the 10-20 side of the Warriors was who they really are. And they're a team that were dealing with some injuries, but overall were relatively lifeless and ineffective, particularly in the fourth quarter in clutch time, which they put themselves in again tonight against the Magic. They've been ineffective in those spots for too long of a period of time to not believe that that's who the Warriors are. And while I don't believe that they're the 10-20 side of this season, I also definitely do not believe they're the 12-3 side of this season. I think this homestand was important because it sort of stabilized things for them, and it put them in a position to really make a choice in the next 72 hours of what they want to do or what they want to try to do. And I think what they want to try to do is make a big move. They missed out on LaVine. It sounds like Jimmy Butler is not a player that, at least for now, is option A. According to reports, the Warriors have had conversations really about 4 big or all-star caliber names, LaVine being one of them who is off the board. That leaves 3. In my mind, the names are very obvious: LeBron James, Kevin Durant, and Jimmy Butler. And LeBron is evidently off the board because he's not going to waive his no-trade contract clause at this point. But, when you see the Warriors tonight, when you see them over the course of this, let's call it a West Coast swing, right? So they go 5-9 during these 9 games, 5-3 during the 8 home games. Is that enough for you out there watching them, whether it's against Orlando, last Friday, an ugly loss against the Suns, on Wednesday, a great win against the Thunder? Are you thinking that this is a team that needs to make a big splash? Or are you someone that believes that it's kind of an ancillary move around the edges? Do you want to see this roster shaken up? Are you believing that this team is someone that can summon maybe a piece of what they had at the beginning of the season? Or are you someone that is believing that this is the 10-20 group, that this is a lifeless roster that needs to be broken up? Because there's a couple of pieces that I think the Warriors really have enjoyed, but are in a position where they haven't really played that well, and they almost have to look themselves in a mirror to make something try to work down the rest of this year. Like, to me, the goal at the trade deadline should be to pick a direction or a path to start going down, which they can perhaps finish up or try and continue down this summer. Like, they have to choose if they want to be one of 3 things. They can be a team that takes a big swing, likely for an older player, or even a younger player like Zion, but that's somewhat of risky business. You take the swing, you try and go for the big player, you create somewhat of an expiration date with Curry, that player, and maybe someone that you can bring in this summer. You can do that. That's the first path. The second path is to duck the tax, move off of some expiring contracts. Maybe it's Looney, maybe it's Gary Payton II, maybe it's getting out from underneath the contracts, which are now on for multiple years of, say, Kyle Anderson or Buddy Hield, and you set yourself up for this summer to make a move or just save money. But you basically resign yourself, I think, to being a lottery team. And the reason why I believe that is because the deadline has shaken things up so much for other teams that in the West, the Warriors on paper might be the 11th, which they currently stand at, or even 12th best team in the Western Conference behind San Antonio, who just got De'Aaron Fox. So first path, you can try and swing big for an older player, pair him with Curry, see how that goes. Second option, you can essentially, I don't want to say tank, but you kind of shut down the season and play your lottery ticket in the Cooper Flag sweepstakes. Or B, you don't do anything, you keep your roster, and you continue down this fork in the road, you take the middle of it, and you continue to be a team that's a little bit above 500, maybe sneaks into the play-in tournament, maybe gets in, maybe gets bounced, and obviously doesn't have much of a life in the postseason. That, to me, is the path that I guess is maybe probable at this point, because I don't think the Warriors have a ton of leverage in the trade market. I don't think that they're a team that is dictating what they do. I think the market is going to dictate what can be done for them. But that's the one path that I just, it's going to be painstaking to watch the rest of this season. It's going to be painstaking to watch them on All-Star Weekend try and sell this vision of their future, if that's the path that they choose to go down on Thursday. So to me, it has to be one or the other. And I don't really mind either. I don't mind them necessarily shutting things down, trying to get a little bit younger, moving off some expired pieces and remnants of their championship. I don't mind them doing that. At least I know what it is, and you can choose whether you like it or not. But at least the Warriors have told us. I don't think that's what Joe Lacob wants to do. And just from watching him tonight against the Magic, and also the last couple of home games, like, Lacob is visibly frustrated with the performances of his team, whether it's win or loss. Tonight, make no doubt about it, the Warriors could have lost tonight's game. The Magic took the lead on a Cole Anthony floater with 4 minutes and 27 seconds left after being down 15 points going into the quarter. The Magic started the fourth on a 25-8 run. This was a ball game that the Warriors absolutely could have lost. Now, I didn't think that they were going to, and that's more because of my doubt in the Magic's ability to create offense consistently, even though we are talking about a Warriors team here, than Golden State. But the anemic nature of the Magic offense was a little bit too much for me to trust in. That's why I thought that they would pull it out. Nonetheless, they did, 5 points, whatever. But Joe Lacob cannot be happy watching the product that is on the floor right now. And I don't think he can be happy with the lack of a pulse right now inside of Chase Center, especially seeing, again, with what's going to happen in a couple of weeks. That place is going to be loud. There's going to be star power. There's going to be, I think, what in a perfect world, not the all-star aspect of it, but in a perfect world, why they moved to San Francisco in the first place. The Warriors put this Acropolis on the water in Mission Bay in order to attract stars, in order to attract attention, to create an entertainment product and venue in addition to just a very good basketball team. And so far this season, they've been able to accomplish either. They have not been able to accomplish either. So I do wonder what exactly the goal is right now at this time, what they're trying to accomplish. And to me, at the deadline, it has to be choosing one or another. So that's kind of the big picture look at things right now as the Warriors stand 25-24. They did get an unlikely but helpful win tonight in the Western Conference by Portland, defending home court against Phoenix and beating them in overtime tonight. So the Warriors are officially tied with the Phoenix Suns at the back end of the play-in position. Right now it's a three-way tie for 9th, 10th, and 11th. The Warriors do not have the tiebreaker, nor will they, against the Sacramento Kings. And then they do not have the head-to-head against the Phoenix Suns, who have beat them 2 times out of 3. So the Warriors are looking up at a couple teams they got to jump over. They are right now 1.5 games out of 7. So they're in the thick of things. They also got a loss tonight from San Antonio, who obviously does not have Fox yet. They got ran into the gym by Memphis. So as we get further into this season, as we move even beyond or close to the All-Star break, we'll continue to sort of scoreboard watch and keep a look at where the Warriors are at. But overall, this team has been largely a 500 group. I think they're slightly above that. But they have an opportunity in 72 hours to add to that and try and make something happen to make sure that these games against teams like Orlando, like, with all due respect, I think Orlando has a bright future ahead of them because they have, I think, 3 players that you can build around. I don't know which one of them is going to end up emerging as their alpha, because it felt like tonight, like, Paolo Banchero is their best player, but it felt like Franz Wagner was the guy that initiates a lot of the offense for them. He ended up fouling out of this game, but before that, I think he had 13 points in the fourth quarter and was playing pretty well. So Banchero is quite clearly their best talent, but Wagner kind of initiates things, and then they didn't have Jalen Suggs, who really impacts what they can do, even though you saw them still be able to keep the Warriors to 104 points, which say what you want about it, is something of note. But when Jalen Suggs hasn't played the Magic now are 3-12 in their last 15 games that they haven't had Suggs. So they really do miss him, especially with what he does defensively, even for a group that's already top 3 in the NBA in that category. But overall, the Warriors, I think this was a nice game for a couple of young pieces for the Warriors. That's the other part. Draymond Green returned tonight, was a +9 in 29 minutes, had 5 assists, 7 rebounds. I did think that it was funny that Draymond comes back and the first possession, he throws the ball away. And then I think he had a close floater that he missed on his next possession down. I have to double check my notes. But yeah, first possession back, turnover. And then he shot a 3 from the corner that barely scraped the rim. And it was like, Draymond's back. But he ended up having a really nice game. And I thought he did a good job, as he usually does, on especially young players. Like Paolo Banchero is a load. I mean, he played 37 minutes tonight, but 6'10", 250 pounds, the first overall pick a couple of years ago out of Duke. He's a really good player, and I thought Draymond kind of goaded him into taking a couple of easy ways out offensively. Some of it was Draymond frustrating him a little bit. I think also a lot of it was the fact that Banchero, he is just jump shot happy. Like in the first half, he went, I think it was 5 of 13 from the floor, and he comes out in the third quarter and takes 3 threes when he hadn't made one to the point. He finished 0 for 6 tonight from the three-point line. It's like, dude, shut it down. He's already close to a 30% three-point shooter to begin with. He's not a gifted marksman. If it's not there, you don't have to keep taking these open threes. There's a reason why Draymond or the Warriors defense as a whole is leaving you butt naked open to the three-point line. Same with Wagner a little bit. He's not a good three-point shooter either. I think he might even be below 30%. But those two guys are volume shooters for a team that is not a good three-point shooting roster. They shot 25% tonight, 8 of 32. And, the only guy who's can really fill it up for them from behind the line or at all, it feels like with consistency, was Cole Anthony this evening, who I thought did a pretty good job. But the Warriors, outside of Draymond, the two players to me tonight that really stood out from the youth movement, Quentin Post and Moses Moody. And Quentin Post, again, I think is a player that's interesting. I was curious to see how he was going to fit with Draymond. And I thought that he did a pretty good job at providing some extra spacing. Not that Draymond's going to use it on the offensive end, but for me, the question is how he's able to stay on the floor defensively. And I think we saw that more in the second half. I don't think Gogo Batazzi is a great player, but clearly the Orlando Magic had an advantage on the glass in that first half. I think they had 12 offensive rebounds leading to 14 second chance points in that first half. And a lot of offensive second chance opportunities came in the first quarter when Post was on the floor. He was a net neutral, but I think got a bit overwhelmed to start the game, settled in really nicely, and had an excellent 4 or 5 minute stint to begin that second half when the Warriors opened up an 18-6 run to begin that third quarter, leading to 39 third quarter points. Post hit a 3, was looking to pass, making plays for others, and obviously being a threat out there. When one goes down, it's like the defense just kind of wakes up and starts looking around for him, and they have to spot the 7-foot number 21. So I thought he played really well tonight. And then Moses Moody, he has quietly been playing some really good basketball. And, it's not going to be a player that stands out and is, I think, on most nights going to help you, beat the big boys of either conference. But he's a guy that in a game like tonight, you have to beat the Magic. Again, you do not. It's a massive. We're talking about this homestand or kind of 9-game stint completely differently if they lose this game tonight, especially if they blow it after being up 15. But 4-5 compared to 5-4. 4-2 in the last 6 games of the homestand compared to 3-3. Those are big swings. And I think the fact that the Warriors haven't been able to secure some of those double-digit late leads, it might make you feel like here we go again against the Magic down the stretch, but they now have been able to hold on to a couple of these late leads against the Jazz, against the Magic. They're not great teams, and they're not necessarily inspirational victories, but they're victories nonetheless. And this is not a team that can complain about W's one way or another. And I think Moses Moody fits right into that. He's a player that's not going to make every play perfectly. I think he is someone that I'm kind of curious as to how he fit tonight. Like, I do believe that he's more of a 3 or a 4. He's more of a forward than he is a guard. But against the Magic, like, he was playing alongside Wiggins down the stretch of that game in that closing lineup, and it was kind of interchangeable. I don't know if he was the 2 or the 3, but I think against a Magic team where really their only quick guard on the floor was Anthony, he doesn't have to guard that player. So you can stick him on a Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, who is not a slasher, is not someone that will take you off the bounce, and his length can help disrupt whatever shooting Caldwell-Pope brings. He's someone that can stay in front of Wagner enough. If you need to put him on Banchero, that's a mismatch, but he can handle, I think, bigger players easier than he can handle smaller, quicker ones. So Moses Moody, I thought, played really well tonight, gave the Warriors some awesome minutes. And overall, I think he's starting to really play the best stretch of basketball, I don't know about of his career, but certainly of this season. Like, Moses Moody has showed out, I would say now, for his last 10 games. He adds another 24-minute performance tonight in which he scores 17 points, hits the late 3 to kind of give them the cushion to go up, make their free throws, walk away with this win tonight. 6 of 9 from the floor, hit 3 threes, was getting on the deck, took a couple guys off the bounce, and defensively was adequate. But his last 10 games, he's scored double digits in 9 of them. He's shooting close to 50% from the field, 45% from three-point range. And tonight against Orlando, he closed. Like, that's not insignificant because the Warriors needed him tonight with the lack of contributions they were getting from the rest of their, I would say, 2s or 3s. And Andrew Wiggins knew it. I posted a video on social media of him after Moody hit that late 3 in the corner, and he goes up to him, gives him an obvious word of encouragement. You can see Moody smile ear to ear, daps him up, and that's the kind of confidence that Moody has extracted out of his teammates, again, over the last 10 games, which is not a small sample size. I'm not sure what's going to happen when Kuminga comes back because they kind of play the same position at this point. But Moses Moody is playing with a confidence that I have not seen perhaps maybe since last year's good stretch. And I know a lot of people believe that Kerr's going to send him right back to the bench, but Moses Moody can help you in this, again, stabilizing portion of this season. And I think he's playing his best basketball of the year right now, and that was something that was encouraging. Absolutely so. All right, 888-957-9570 is the number. Evan Giddings with you on Warriors Wrap-Up. Cam, if we have any calls, please send them to me. Be happy to get you on. From the 650, would you agree Moody should get a chance to start? Well, he did. He did last week. But with Draymond coming back, that's kind of the position where Moody, I think, at least Kerr likes him the most at. And I can kind of understand why. Again, I don't know if it's power forward specifically, but it's one of those two forward spots. Like, if Wiggins isn't in the game, I think Moody can sort of fill in for him. But it doesn't feel like Moody, both on offense and defense, is, at least right now, capable of being at his best on both ends of the floor when he is the 2. Like, I'm not the biggest Buddy Hield fan, for example, but Buddy Hield is a far better shooting threat than Moses Moody. And I was surprised to look up and see, like, I thought Moses Moody obviously played better than Buddy Hield did tonight. But Buddy Hield was a plus 15. And that's not insignificant because I think that also is around the same area when Curry's in the game. And for whatever reason, Hield really can at least unlock or try to unlock the best of Curry. So I thought that was something to note, even though, again, he has not been shooting the ball well whatsoever. The 2 position for Moody is something I know they're going to experiment, or they tried to experiment a little bit with, but I'm just not sure that also defensively it's best for him and the Warriors because I think he's a long defender, but he's not really quick. You saw against some of the better scores off the bounce last couple of weeks, he could be taken advantage of. And I think he's better when he plays on sort of longer, more physical forwards. Again, like Wagner and Banchero, I don't like the matchup, but I feel better than if he's being attacked by even Cole Anthony. Like, Cole Anthony will go right around him. I also think that offensively, Moody's not someone that generally, like, he had a good drive on Wendell Carter tonight and got an acrobatic flip off the window, but generally he's not someone that will take a defender off the bounce. He's a little more catch and shoot, and I think he's shooting the ball with great confidence right now. So again, if he's scored double digits in 9 of his last 10 games, primarily playing the 4, if he's helping you in large minutes, a big sample size at the 4, I kind of want to keep him there. I want to keep him in his rhythm at the very least until Jonathan Kuminga comes back, and then we go from there. 5-3-0. Moody with a hell of a performance off the bench, assisting in the win, no doubt about it. The 2-6-2, I think this is from earlier. This is the team, E. I think they will roll with these guys. I'm assuming that's talking about the trade deadline. I think that's... Unfortunately, I do think that's the most probable outcome. But the reason that I was really hyped today on the Durant rumors is because I do think that there's a path that the Warriors were talking about, like sort of their dream scenario of Durant and LeBron. I don't think that's as far-fetched as we've made it out to be. To me, it's kind of like if they're able to get KD at the deadline, which is all predicated on Bradley Beal, like the hurdles that the Warriors have to have jumped in order to make this happen are as such. They need Bradley Beal to not waive his no-trade clause, which means that the Phoenix Suns cannot acquire Jimmy Butler, which means that maybe they fall off the cliff, maybe they get to the playoffs and get swept like they did last year. Kevin Durant decides he doesn't want to sign there, and so if they're not, that's the outcome that he sees. And as a result, they try and get a trade. Maybe the Warriors give up some first-round picks, Wiggins, a couple players. According to Jake Fisher, they want Kuminga. He's in the package. So you give up whatever you can to get Durant so that this summer, when LeBron, who inevitably finds out that the Los Angeles Lakers are not long for him and he doesn't have much of a future there, decides to opt out of his player option and then comes here during the summer as a free agent, or maybe it's a sign and trade. I'm not really sure. Obviously, the money is something that they have to move through. It's a needle that absolutely has to be threaded, but I don't think that it is a 0% chance that those three are able to end up in Golden State next season. So that was for a couple people I saw asking about it earlier, and why, even though I think to the 262's point that this is the team, there is, again, it's all an outside shot that they make a move by Thursday, but that's the biggest one that I think they have an opportunity to make. All right, 888-957-9570 is the number. If we want to get into the 104-99 victory for the Warriors against the Magic, again, sort of an unspectacular but necessary victory, an unspectacular but necessary homestand where they move a game above 500 with the Jazz on Wednesday, a chance to get 2 games above 500 for the first time, I think, in close to a month. Let's go out to Jonathan, who is here at the Chase Center. Jonathan, what's going on, my man? How are you?
I'm good. I'm enjoying the rain that normally I would mind, but after that game, all is well. I got the Florida perfection. Lost the Heat, beat the Magic, so I'm happy. Loved the second quarter response and the third quarter when they took over as well. Wiggins had a tremendous performance, stepping up alongside Steph, and was a little concerned with still how they're starting games. I didn't like the first and the fourth, got a little hairy, but overall great win. And I pretty much at this point, despite the Brooklyn loss back in November, I've clinched a winning season pretty much, which a couple of months ago would have seemed improbable. So despite everything, they looked great. Did I hear you say the possibility? I've already heard the KD return rumors, but the possibility even next year of a Bay Area Big Three with KD back. And I haven't even thought about the possibility of cheering for LeBron James a second time, let alone him coming here. That's mind-boggling to think about, but that would be something. It seems like a million years ago, those James Wade and Bosch teams, but it would be interesting to see him on this side. So, yeah, we'll see what happens there. But no, I really appreciated the win, and they got to keep rolling. I won't be back probably till Sacramento in March. I probably only have 2 games left, about probably the Kings and the Nuggets. So those would be a challenge. But see where they're at. I know they got the long road trip coming up into the break. All-Star weekend here will be interesting. And watch them while they're playing in Orlando. And where will they be by the time I've been to my last game and they make their trip to Miami? That's what I'm waiting to see. But right now, while I can still pull for them, I'm loving the victories. They just got to get on a 3-game winning streak.
I got you, Jonathan. I got you. Well, good news. You got the lowly Utah Jazz, who had an injury report the last time they played the Warriors just before the turn of the month. That was longer than the line for the concert that I went to. What was it? It was the Eagles concert I went to here. It took me like an hour to get in last year. They have no intention of winning basketball games, although oddly, and this is why I guess the win tonight was a bit marred. Like the Magic just lost to the Jazz. They just lost to that team. And it's because Banchero has clearly not been the same player after his injury. He just got back, I think, close to 10 games ago. And Wagner is not someone that yet is going to be able to carry a team consistently. They're the 8th seed, but they're 2 games now, 3 games after the loss, below 500. So, but again, like, these are the necessary wins that you have to get. You got to beat these teams. If you don't beat these teams, well, then what the hell are we talking about? Like, if the Warriors make a move at the deadline to get better, I could see them making a jump up to, I don't know, maybe 8 or 7, leaping 3 teams if it's an impactful enough deal. But if you don't have these wins stacked on your belt, it doesn't matter, because it's also important with the stretch of basketball you got coming up. Jonathan, you mentioned the fact that you're not going to be back until Sacramento. I'll tell you when that is. That's March 13th. You know why? Because the Warriors only play 2 home games between now and March 8th. They get 2 home games essentially over the next month. Now, they get a stretch of off time during the All-Star break. But Dallas, February 23rd, which is also when they're going to retire Andre Iguodala's number, and then the next Tuesday against Charlotte, are the only 2 home games. So you not only had to win this game along with, say, the Utah, the Washingtons earlier, the Chicagos. Those are the games you have to get. It's because when you play Chicago in Chicago, well, they're going to be kind of gutted based on the trades it looks like they're making. Dallas is now looking like a much tougher matchup because they replaced an injured Doncic with Anthony Davis. Sacramento looks like maybe a different team, but they had an impressive win tonight against Minnesota. Like, you don't know how these teams are going to look at or around the deadline. Like, the Lakers on Thursday, that's a very winnable game now. They just lost maybe their 2 best defenders, in obviously Davis, but also Christie. LeBron's alone down there, and Doncic is hurt. So he's not going to be playing. And now you're looking at, all right, well, the Warriors are playing Utah on Wednesday. You win that game. Thursday's a back-to-back against the Lakers. If you get that game, you play a Bulls team, which is looking like they're trying to tank. All of a sudden, that's 4 wins in a row if you can beat the beatable opponents. And I know that doesn't convince anybody that the Warriors are going to win a championship, but that's how the schedule is playing out. That's how you have to approach things, and that's why wins like tonight are important, as ugly as they are. I don't really care that they blew a 15-point lead in the fourth quarter, because they won the game. They won the game because I thought Andrew Wiggins set a physical tone offensively. He got to the line 15 times in this game, though he only hit 66% of them. I thought that Moses Moody was really good off the bench this evening. Draymond Green's return clearly added some juice defensively. And overall, the Warriors did what they had to beat a team that they should. And that's what they have to do, because sometimes you're not going to get those wins, or at least they haven't been able to. They've lost winnable games against Toronto. They've lost winnable games against the backups for the Miami Heat. They've lost games against, oh my God, I'm going down the list here, but the Brooklyns, the San Antonios before the deadline. They have lost some winnable games that they're now starting to correct themselves in. And that's where this portion of the season, if the Warriors can get into play-in contention, potentially get to the playoffs, trade deadline help or not, we're going to look at this stretch of basketball as being a stabilizing stretch for the Warriors. And I think that's what's probably the most impressive part about it. It's trying to get this thing back on track. And the Warriors have not been able to do that for an extended period of time, I think large in part. So, again, 888-957-9570 is the number. Evan Giddings with you on Warriors Wrap-Up live from Chase Center here on 95.7 The Game. I do want to take a break here while we get some calls in. On the other side, we're going to listen to Steve Kerr. And I also have some thoughts, not just about this game, but again, sort of where the Warriors can go at the trade deadline. We're also going to get to our Crashing the Board segment brought to you by Chilton Auto Body. But let's step aside, Cam, if we can, get some texts in, get some calls in, 888-957-9570, and be back after this on 95.7 The Game. This is Warriors Wrap-Up.
Now back to Warriors Wrap Up on 95.7 The Game.
You heard there from Tim Roy. Moses Moody with a big shot down the stretch against the Orlando Magic as the Warriors outlast Orlando 104-99. Moody, I thought, played awesome tonight. And in fact, he kind of symbolizes the stabilizing stretch of basketball that the Warriors have played, because in 9 of his last 10 games now, he's had double-digit points. The Warriors are 6-4 in their last 10 after playing some really poor basketball before the beginning of the new year. But Moody's shooting close to 50% from the field, now 45% from three. Tonight against the Magic, he closed. You heard in that highlight, he hit a big corner three to kind of give the Warriors the breathing room that they needed. And the Warriors absolutely needed him tonight. And Andrew Wiggins, there was a moment during the timeout that followed that three-pointer in which Wiggins went to the bench. Moody was getting his daps from the rest of the coaching staff, obviously was feeling really good about himself. And Wiggins went up, sat right down next to Moses Moody, and immediately got in his ear. And you could tell he was gassing him up. You could see a big smile on Moses Moody's face. Wiggins gave him a high five, said a couple of more words to him and let him kind of bask in what was a moment of his. And he hasn't had a lot of moments this season, whether it's been because he's been buried behind players, he's been inconsistent at some points, or also just hasn't had the confidence from Steve Kerr to get those minutes and perform. It doesn't really matter at this point, and we can decide on what should happen to Moody beyond when Kuminga eventually returns and maybe Draymond bites into some of his minutes somehow. But that's also significant tonight, too, because Draymond came back. Moses Moody, who's been starting at the 4, played 24 minutes tonight on a game where Draymond Green was back. And I thought Moody was what the Warriors needed tonight. They just needed a solid, gritty, willing to get down and get his hands dirty type of player to beat an Orlando Magic team that would not go away and that made the Warriors effectively outlast them. And I don't know if Moses Moody was the best player in this game tonight. I thought Andrew Wiggins, and that moniker belongs to him, but he absolutely is what the Warriors needed to get that victory. And I think he's symbolized, again, a stabilizing stretch of basketball for the Dubs, because he himself has been pretty stable over these last 10 games. Maybe not the best player, but a player, a role player. And they haven't had a lot of those that they can have called consistent, again, for about a month and a half prior to the turn of the new year. So Moses Moody absolutely deserves his flowers. And I think Steve Kerr also had a couple of nice words to say about him after the game. It's time to check out Steve Kerr and his post-game press conference talking about the win against the Orlando Magic 104-99. Here's the head coach.
Draymond was good. I mean, he changes everything defensively just with his activity and communication and covering up when we do make mistakes. So I thought he looked good.
What do you like about him and Post together?
Well, we get some spacing with Quentin, and so it opens up the floor. Draymond can play out of the post. We can run our splits and stuff with Quentin, but there's just a little more space to work with, and that helps everybody.
Steve, back-to-back 17-point games for Moses. I think he's double figures 9 in the last 10. Where have you seen the biggest offensive growth in the last few weeks?
And just confidence. He's getting consistent minutes, and he's making the most of them. And he has the occasional night where the shots don't go in, and it doesn't bother him because he knows he's coming right back the next game. And so I think the consistency is helping him. And I thought he hit the biggest shot of the game tonight, that corner three. So it's really fun to see Moses play well and continue to play well.
You've utilized him more almost at the power forward recently. You've talked about that. Is his versatility really helping him out too, being able to almost play 2 through the 4 for you?
Yeah, I mean, he's at his best when he can space the floor and play off of others, but we have to slide him up and down to different positions depending on lineups. One of the things Quentin does when he's out there is he opens up the game for everyone else, and that allows us to play different lineups, and so Moses can slide down to the 3 if Quentin's out there with Draymond, and that's helpful. And so, we're mixing and matching, every night.
How critical was Andrew tonight?
Andrew was great. I thought that floater he hit, I think it either tied the game or put us up 2, was a huge shot. And, I had to guard, Wagner and Banchero, both. And, you see his line. I mean, he got to the line 15 times attacking. He's a plus 15. So Wiggs was a huge part of that win.
Steve, the third quarter looked totally different than the first half. What were the biggest changes you thought that your team displayed out there?
I thought we woke up. We were asleep in the first half. And we had some possessions that made no sense. And, the guys locked in at halftime, scored, I think, the first 6 or 8 points. Quentin was fantastic. Those first few minutes of the third quarter set a really good tone, and that got us the lead. And then, of course, they battled back in the fourth, did a great job, but we were able to hang on.
I'm glad that Kerr mentioned that last part about them waking up in the second quarter, because I don't know if anybody caught it. I wasn't watching the TV telecast, but when Kerr, I think he broke a clipboard. Moses Moody said postgame that he broke a clipboard in that second quarter. And he's done it before. Kerr's lost his bleep before. But it was I think, refreshing to hear that after watching that first half, because again, the game got better. I think in the second quarter they began to pick up a little bit, and it may have been after Kerr broke the clipboard. But to me, the first quarter was just an absolute snooze fest. I mean, you could have woken me up sometime around between the 12, literally the beginning of the game tip, and the 4-minute mark, and I don't think I would have missed anything. It was a really tough watch, and I think again the Warriors did what they had to do tonight, but Kerr obviously woke him up by breaking a clipboard. The one player. Yeah, thank you, Estimated Eyes in our YouTube chat. 13-10 with 3 minutes left in the quarter. I mean, it was a brick fest. The rims were bruised by the end of that first quarter, and I felt bad for him. I was just looking up at the scoreboard, and it was kind of funny. We were joking in Media Row, like the scoreboard had a couple of technical difficulties, so it didn't show the stats momentarily. And it's like, yeah, I wouldn't show those stats either. There is nothing to like about looking at zeros or 5 for 23s or 2 for 18s on both sides. It wasn't just the Warriors. Like, the Orlando Magic are an offensively inept basketball team overall, but at times the Warriors looked like one of those teams too. It was a brutal watch. The one player that he also discussed, which I think has come up the most during trade talks because of his contract, but also his value at this point, is Andrew Wiggins. And I don't think that there's been a player in the NBA whose value has done a 180 from this time last year to this time as we stand on February 3rd like Andrew Wiggins. Last year, Wiggins, as we found out, was going through a lot of off-the-court issues that obviously impacted what he did on the court. And he had probably the worst season of his career, statistically speaking, last season. 365 days ago, that was someone that I'll put my hand up, along with a lot of people in the Warriors front office, I know this for a fact, were trying to move Andrew Wiggins, and his contract was perceived league-wide as so toxic that they couldn't trade him. And it's a damn good thing that they didn't. They tried to even involve him in different talks this summer, and it's a good thing that they did not trade him, because without Andrew Wiggins, they certainly would not be a game above 500. And tonight, you see why he can help you win the gritty games as much as he can help you win a game like against OKC. 25 points on 14 shots tonight. He got to the free throw line 15 times. I know he wasn't that active on the glass or assisting, but he was guarding Wagner. He's able to guard players like Cole Anthony. He's able to guard, bigger players, but also smaller. He's the best two-way player I think the Warriors have by far, with the lack of offense that you get from Draymond Green and some of his declining skills on defense. Wiggins' value at the trade deadline is the highest maybe it's ever been since the championship. And I know that the Warriors really like him, but I think if they're going to swing big and acquire a big piece, if I'm any other team, I want Andrew Wiggins if I'm a team that's also trying to win. If for example, the Warriors are able to get in on some of the Miami Heat action, the Heat, I could see a team absolutely wanting Andrew Wiggins if Jimmy Butler is going out. Even the Phoenix Suns, if Kevin Durant is a player the Warriors are trying to get after, the Suns probably want Andrew Wiggins. And it just goes to show the kind of work that he has put in. Over the last 10 games, he's averaging 21 points, shooting close to 50% from the floor. Overall this season, shooting 38% from three-point range, 17.5 points per game while giving you consistent defense at multiple positions. Wiggins has done a 180 as far as his value from last season to this, and he seems like he's in a great place, which I think is also why the Warriors are going to have a hard time if they do indeed deal him, and it would have to be for somebody of impact. Like I don't think maybe the Warriors would have, but I don't think the Warriors wanted to move him for a Zach LaVine. I wouldn't have wanted to move Andrew Wiggins for Zach LaVine. That to me is a lateral move. Andrew Wiggins is a player that can help winning basketball teams. And I know that the Warriors are just slightly a winning basketball team this season, but if I'm any other team out there at the deadline, that is one guy from the Warriors that I want. Like if you're talking about those salary matchers, yeah, I don't want Draymond Green. I want Andrew Wiggins. That's the one dude that the Warriors I think have to deal with, in addition to maybe Kuminga if they want to move him, as well as unprotected first-round picks. All right, 888-957-9570 is the number. Evan Giddings with you on Warriors wrap-up, 104-99. The final score between the Dubs and the Magic tonight, 25-24. And I think the Warriors at this point are in a position where they're trying to sort of just get to the deadline, figure out what they have, and then go from there. The one thing that also makes me maybe more so want the Warriors to go out and make a move is the fact that I don't know if he's healthy or not, but Curry is really starting to show his age as of late. I know I mentioned that the great stretch of basketball that Moses Moody's played and the great stretch of basketball that Andrew Wiggins has played over the last 10 games. But Curry, unfortunately, has kind of been on the other side of that. By the way, you're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco, always live on the free Odyssey app, Twitch and YouTube, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. I want to throw some numbers out at you and see what you make of them. So the last 7 games now, Curry, and this was his first game in his last 7 that he scored more than 21 points. He had 24 tonight on 21 shots, was 7 of 21, did not shoot it very well. It was 2 of 12 from three-point range. In fact, he may not have cracked 21 points if the Warriors didn't need him to make free throws down the stretch because they relinquished what once was a 15-point lead going into the fourth quarter. But here's just Steph's stats over the last 7 games now. He's averaging 17.8 points per game on 37% shooting from the floor and 31% from three-point range. And I don't think that there's a player right now that needs the All-Star break more than Curry. And I don't think that there's a player right now that needs some help at the deadline more than Curry. And it isn't just because all of a sudden it will unlock him and he'll be back to a 30-point-per-game scorer, but Steph's age is really beginning to rear its head, and the Warriors have been able to, again, fight through it. They've won 6 of the last 10 games. If they beat the Jazz, they'll have won 5 of 6 after Wednesday. But Steph, and it's not just Wiggins. I mean, he needs someone, a more gifted scorer, to take, I think, quite a lot off his plate, because I think maybe it's the hand that's hampering him, the bilateral knee tendonitis. When he was walking off the court tonight towards the locker room, I don't know if he was limping, but he definitely didn't look 100%, was kind of gingerly striding towards the locker room after a tough shooting night. It's even the little moments throughout the game. Just take this evening. Like he has visible trouble, and it's not just against the Magic, but especially against a good defensive team. He's got visible trouble beating his man off the dribble. Like even Wendell Carter, Curry couldn't really get around with much consistency tonight, and that's not something we're often seeing or accustomed to seeing. He got blocked by Cole Anthony, and Cole Anthony's not a terrible defender, but he's definitely not the best perimeter guy for the Magic. There was a play midway through the third quarter where Curry curls off a screen, catches a pass, and I feel like we've seen this a million times where the defender is late, right? So either Curry gets the shot off before the defender gets there, or he pump fakes, lets him fly by, steps to the side, and shoots the three. Well, he kind of did neither, and it was like he hesitated. I have never seen Curry hesitate like this, and as a result, he put it up, and he just got a shot blocked, just straight up blocked. Like Anthony got there in time, got his hand on the ball, and it was just really strange to see. And there's been more of those little moments that have been piling up as of late. And again, I think it's because he's less than 100%, but I think the trade deadline is also a time when the Warriors can address that. Curry at age 36 and the fact that he needs someone else to take attention away from him, not named Andrew Wiggins. I think Post certainly helped in that third quarter. Even Buddy Hield is someone who helps as a threat. He was a plus 15 tonight. Wiggins can take some off his plate with the ability to get downhill into the free throw line. Kuminga is going to help when he comes back. But the Warriors clearly need more offensive firepower, and I think Curry might be at the top of the list just because of how he's sort of looked, again, for the better part of the last month. All right, let's go to Uncle Gene in Oakland's been hanging on patiently. 888-957-9570 is the number. Everything's with you on Warriors Wrap-Up. Uncle Gene, what's going on? Oh, he's gone? Oh, sorry about that. My bad. All right. In that case, let's go to our Crashing the Board segment brought to you by Chilton Auto Body, the Bay Area leader in collision repair. I actually thought this was the funniest part of the game. I thought that this was a hilarious portion of the game. When was it specifically in the second half? Kevon Looney, by the way, is our Crashing the Boards leader. Again, brought to you by Chilton Auto Body because he had 15 rebounds off the bench in 21 minutes, 7 of them offensive, and by the way, was also your Warriors leader tonight in assists. He had 6 of them. However, I want to find the moment because it was a little bit disarming and funny, but 3:31 left in the third quarter. Looney at the rim. And just go look at this box score, whether it's on NBA.com, ESPN, whatever. Go look at it and look at the play-by-play. What you will see is Looney, 1 foot tip shot, offensive rebound. 2 foot tip shot, offensive rebound. 1 foot tip shot, offensive rebound. 3 foot tip shot, offensive rebound. 1 foot tip shot, offensive rebound. Gets tipped out. I think Moody ended up cleaning up that possession with a score. Kevon Looney had 5 straight offensive rebounds. And I know that he had 15 in the game, so, but at that point he got to 11. I love Kevon Looney. He is one of my favorite Warriors ever. He's a peach to talk to, and I hope, well, he might be gone at the deadline, but I hope he isn't because he still has a place on this team in my mind. But there has to be a rule. There has to be some sort of statistical amendment to miss tip shots. The Warriors do it so often, and to the point where I'm looking up at these team stats at the end of the game, and I'm seeing the Warriors, who got relatively bludgeoned on the offensive glass 18-10, were a -7 in the rebounding category. Like, they got killed on the glass tonight. If you just take away those 5 offensive rebounds or even limit them to 4, it looks drastically different. The Warriors would be a -11 on the glass. The Warriors would be a -12 on the offensive glass. And those 4 extra offensive rebounds, if Looney had been able to clean up the first point-blank, wide-open one, would have looked so much different. They still would have won the game. It wouldn't have made that big of a difference in the grand scheme of things. But there has to be some amendment to you missing wide-open bunnies, not once, not twice, but 5 times. God love Kevon Looney, but that was one of the funniest things that I have ever seen. I couldn't believe it. We're sitting there in media row like, how many tips can you miss? There was this game where Chris Webber, I don't know if he set the NBA record. I got to double check this. Chris Webber, the most shots that he ever took in a game was like close to 50. Because I remember he was on Inside the NBA one night, and they were going around asking what the career highs of everybody was. I have it here. 46 field goal attempts by Chris Webber. He was in his prime 2001 with the Sacramento Kings. Oddly enough, they lost this game to the Pacers. But on January 5th, 2021, in Arco Arena, Chris Webber was 24 of 47 with 26 rebounds. 10 of them were offensive. And he kept talking about, even though he scored 51 in an overtime loss, he kept talking about how many tips he missed at the rim. And I realize 51 is a lot more than Kevon Looney's 4 points. But the 10 offensive rebounds just kept reminding me of what Looney did tonight. And I'm just going back and forth thinking about how many bunnies can you blow? I mean, Webber shot 50% in that game, but he would have shot close to 60 if he'd been able to clean up. Meanwhile, Kevon Looney tonight probably only should have had 11 rebounds. It was unbelievable. And he actually had a tip later in the game in which he sort of just slapped it towards the rim and it rolled in. Looney, I'm talking about. Oh, but anyways, so if the Warriors can just work on these tips and shout out bartenders, then I think they're going to be okay. But overall, the Warriors, I think, are in a position where, look, they win a slugfest of a game tonight against the Magic. They'll be gearing up for a Wednesday tilt in Utah and Salt Lake City for the front end of a back-to-back where they get the Lakers on Thursday. We should know a whole hell of a lot more before the deadline, which happens at 3 o'clock on Thursday, Pacific Standard. Lock in all day on 95.7 The Game. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we should have an idea of what direction hopefully the Warriors are going in. At least I hope so. Otherwise, I do think that there's going to be a lot of room for criticism of this organization because there's not a lot of clarity right now on what the hell they're doing. They're 25-24. Again, they've played a stabilizing stretch of basketball, having won 4 of their last 6, all of which at home. And now they get a road trip in which they play 7 straight on the road. They got a total of 12 games of their next 14 that are on the road. And I think they're going to need some extra ammunition. I think they're going to need some reinforcements. So I hope they make a deal before then. But I will talk to you the next time. I believe the next time I'm on pre and post will be over the weekend. Mark Grandy's going to have your pre and post game coming up against Utah and then the Lakers. You can, of course, lock in all day tomorrow on 95.7 The Game from 6 to 10 with Joe Spadoni and Joe Shasky. Couple of Joes in the morning doing a fantastic job for you. Steiny and Guru from 10 to 2. I was filling in for Guru today. Guru will be back tomorrow. I know this for a fact, so we're very much looking forward to having him during our middays. And then Willard and Dibbs, obviously, from 2 to 6. But in the meantime, that'll do it for Warriors Wrap-Up. Big thank you to everybody who tuned in, everybody that chimed in on the text line. Big thank you to Cameron Williams, our Warriors Network coordinator. Big thank you to Chris O'Connell, Steven Risotto, Carter Chickering, everybody back there cutting highlights and sound for us in our 95.7 The Game studios. My name is Evan Giddings saying so long from Chase Center, where the Warriors outlast the Orlando Magic 104-99 to move a game above 500. We'll see what happens before the deadline. I hope it's something big. But we'll find out together, all right here on your home for Golden State Warriors basketball, 95.7 The Game. Take it easy.